Sobriety isn't about becoming someone new. It's about discovering who you are. Hey everyone, my name is Shaun Howard and welcome to Perspective-Based Recovery, where I show you some tips and tricks that help me get sober and stay sober. Today, we're discussing how addiction can bury you beneath guilt, regret, grief, loneliness, and how you can start the journey to get back to yourself. When I was 14, I took my first drink. I was alone in my house and incredibly sad about my circumstances and where I was in life. Little did I know that my life was about to change so aggressively in an even more negative way. Before I took that drink, I was the most anti-drug, alcohol, cigarette kid you'd ever meet. I would never have imagined that I would end up taking part in all of these things later down the line. I was a pretty normal kid on the outside. Inside, I was beginning to feel emotional distress as the trials of high school began. New friends, new cliques, new school, and a new kind of pressure as thoughts of life after school suddenly felt so close. I quickly grew attached to my new friends and worried so much about losing them. So when I found out they were smoking and drinking, I was deeply hurt and confused. I felt like without them, I would have nothing and would never make it through high school, and the thoughts made me incredibly depressed. I carried on for a while this way, dragging depression around like a ball and chain, until I gave in and I took a drink in the summer I turned 14. Instantly, my worries began to melt away. My confidence grew, and I felt like I could talk about anything without fear. Parties quickly became my favorite way to socialize, and school started to take a back seat on my priorities list. Before I knew it, high school was over, and the world was thrust upon me. I was sorely unprepared. Drinking was my whole personality at this point. It drove every decision I made, and I couldn't socialize without a drink in my hand, much less work. This carried on for 10 years. I bounced around from job to job, relationship to relationship, house to house, like a pinball with an identity crisis. I could never nail down who I was or who I wanted to become. I believed I was a good person at my core, yet constantly found myself doing things I couldn't believe myself to have done. I was completely lost and alone by the time I reached 24 and finally got sober. And it didn't instantly fix all my problems. Getting sober did one thing at first. It gave me clarity to see myself and the world around me without blur, without imbibed courage. I was unsure of myself, guilt-ridden and terribly depressed. I didn't leave the house for more than an hour for the better part of 6 months because I was terrified that I would see someone I knew, or worse, didn't know, who would belittle me for my drunken behavior. But the time inside gave me a chance to take a deep dive into who I was underneath my anxiety and depression, and come to terms with the fact that I needed to get back out there and try to become someone I would respect and become someone I wanted to be. The first steps are the hardest, coming to terms with the fact that you have to look at yourself and your actions objectively and accept accountability for them. Remembering that in order to move past them, you must make them a part of yourself. I now accept every action I took in my drinking as a lesson in who I never want to be again. I let the regret fuel my actions today and tomorrow, and my guilt doesn't stick to me past an uncomfortable point because I remember my progress towards becoming a better person. When you're trying to reconnect with yourself and remember who you are, take some time to list out your values, passions, and other things you care about. Anything from hobbies to a dream you had once hoped to achieve. Listing these out on paper can help you draw a kind of line chart to figuring out what it is that you really care about and wish to see in your own personal life path. You can also try to separate your identity from your past mistakes. Don't define yourself solely by the actions you took in active addiction. While you were driven by drugs, alcohol, or both, you weren't who you really are underneath it all. While this doesn't excuse taking accountability for your actions, it can help you on the path forward while you recreate yourself. Try reconnecting with old hobbies, or if it's not hurting anyone, old friendships or relationships with family. These threads can help reestablish a connection to who you were before you lost your way and help guide you on the path to return a part of yourself to yourself. Some of these relationships may be too fractured or painful to repair, however, and should be treated with caution and respect. And don't forget to move away from relationships that are detrimental to your recovery as well. Getting sober isn't just stopping. It's a journey of self-discovery. You will find new relationships, new hobbies, and new opportunities on the other side of addiction. And you will be able to take some of the best parts of what make you who you are and let them fully shine. Thanks for watching this episode of my Perspective-Based Recovery series. If you enjoyed it, then please check out the rest of the videos as I release them. And remember, the real you was always there, waiting.